One, 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 one. Yes, 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 yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just wanted to take the time to thank everyone for joining me. I don't know, man. It's a lot going on out here right now, so I want to take this time to reach out to some folks to remind people the importance of voting and what's going on out here right now. Of course, I'm respecting the Blackout Tuesday, and we're not talking entertainment, but do want to remind people to get out and vote, man. See where my brother is. This is important. See where my guy is, man. See some good people in here, per usual. My family, CQ family in here. Let me hit my guy up and just remind him to sign in. What's going on, everyone? Mike Blake, send that request. I don't see you, Mike. Mike Blake, where are you, broski? Oh, here we go. Let's see. Add my BX guy to this conversation.
There we go.
What's up, man?
Man, oh man.
All right, we're back now. I'm sorry about that. How are you, first of all, bro?
Man, it's hard, D.
Yeah.
It's hard. You know, we the last 8 days have been very difficult.
In the Bronx.
And
And just all over in general.
everywhere in general. And as a black man,
Yes.
as a black man who's experienced police brutality myself, and then as you and I both know, D, us being from the Bronx, to watch what happened in the Bronx in the last 24 hours.
It's been devastating, bro.
Devastating. It has been hard. But I think that there is an energy out there, not just here, but across the country, across the world, people looking for something good right now.
Sure.
And we have to give them that. We have to give them that.
So before we have that conversation, I do want to ask about your family. Like, is everyone safe? And
Mama Hillary is that good Jamaican mama who her first questions are you okay? Are you good? Don't go out tonight because of what's going on. I was like, Mama, you in Florida? It's okay, and it's gonna be all right. But I keep an eye on her because she battles asthma.
yes.
Right? She battles asthma. I have one aunt up in Connecticut who had to stay home for a little bit.
Yes.
But thank God, everybody else is okay. How's the family? How's everybody doing?
Man, my family's great. My mom is safe. She's in Harlem, so she's been, as much as possible, staying quarantined outside of, I keep telling her to stay home, but she feels the need to go out and take walks every now and then. She gets, and rightfully so, man. It's hard, being quarantined for months, in your home, man. Like that's, no one should live like that. But, we're all trying to stay safe. My girls are here with me now, my daughters. It was my first time seeing them in my oldest daughter, because she's in school, I hadn't seen her. I didn't realize it 4 months had passed,
Wow.
And my youngest has been like 2.5 months, just respecting the quarantine and making sure that everyone is safe. And like I was a little freaked out over this as well. I was trying to stay safe, man. But I'm happy that they're here now. We get to spend the summer together, and yes, I'm feeling much better. I will say that.
I could see it on your face.
Yeah.
I was looking at some photos, you know. So for anybody, y'all know, D always spends up in Martha's Vineyard in the summertime, and I'm always that one guy that sits to the side and just has my heart full of like, my guys out here killing the game as always. But the look you have when your daughters are around, it just it's just a beautiful thing, and you make us all proud, my brother,
I
always.
appreciate that. I also understood the importance of what was going on in terms of like my contribution to everyone's sanity. Like the music has not only been saving my life, but saving the lives of many, and being in this incredible spirit and seeing so many familiar names pop up and just having fantastic conversation while listening to music has been therapeutic for so many. And
That's right.
so I understood the importance, and I shared that importance with my family, and they understood. So I'm happy that my daughters are here now, and we're even under these conditions, we're gonna still make sure that we have a fantastic conversation, bro. But I do want to ask you some questions, man. So just as a black man, like what is it that you're feeling right now that you just haven't talked about?
I almost feel like we're being hunted, D.
Wow.
You know, I, the George Floyd video. I've been saying a lot that was a Emmett Till moment for this generation, and that the visual was so raw, right? But then you're in a space where you have on a mask, they coming after you. You don't have a mask, they come after you. You peacefully protest, they beating you. You stay at home, people are complaining that you're not doing enough. And I really have been feeling that, man, we are being hunted as black men. And I want to be real clear, to my Latino brothers, respect all day.
Absolutely.
To my sisters, who have repeatedly been holding it down for us in the spaces where our pride got in the way of recognizing you for the queens that you are. Love to you. But I got to speak to our brothers for a moment. As a dark-skinned black man, I feel like we are being hunted. I feel that we are seen only as criminals and thugs, and that something is wrong with us.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's every single cop. I'm always clear about that, right? I don't think it's every single person. However, there is a system that has a mindset about us that we are wrong, that there's something wrong with us. And I think, D, the other thing we got to always remind people, Christian Crouch is a dear friend of mine, brilliant scholar, talks to me always about African American history, and I'm always asking her for guidance on things. And one thing that reminds me, people don't know, most police networks, departments were created to be slave patrols.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Like that's the origin of a lot of this, and when you think about that, and you think about how, if that's the origin of the mindset to capture someone, yeah, you just might have different names, but it's the same mindset that exists there. And so it has been very hard. And I think lastly, and of course, for you, which, to see you doing your thing just makes my heart full. I think about Woody Crest, the way I talk about Creston all the time.
Yes.
Is there's that vulnerability for us as black men in leadership. You know, people almost think that we don't have feelings.
Oh yes, I get that all the time. You're not doing enough in the Bronx. I'm like, I'm actually in Los Angeles right now, like, but
Exactly.
so people just they tend to be extremely judgmental, and I know it's a hard time though, and in many ways I do understand like the frustration that people are going through. It's a difficult time, and I can't even. This is unlike anything I've ever seen in my life, man. And and we're not too far from the civil rights era, in terms of like our age, our age group,
Exactly.
and I don't know what that was like, but just based on reading and based on the stories that I've heard, from the elders, I'm like, I've never experienced anything like this where, and I do feel somewhat privileged because I'm still out here and I'm able to do what I love, and I'm in a safe space in terms of like where I live, but I think about like my family and my friends that are in the Bronx, that are in Watts, you know what I mean? Like in all of these places, like I'm sitting here, I woke up this morning making coffee and I looked out the window and I watched at least 30 Humvees drive down the street.
Wow.
Never in my life would I've imagined like seeing, I mean, I'm looking, they're still sitting here right now, like seeing anything like that to police our citizens. Like this is crazy to me, and people are upset, they're frustrated. I'm frustrated, like that video has haunted me, as
Exactly.
a black man, and knowing that that guy actually knew him,
Man.
like I can't imagine, first of all, I can't imagine doing harm to someone unless they were trying to do harm to me, but just to take someone's life like that,
Exactly.
is in cold blood, man. Like it's one of the most unbelievable things I've ever experienced, and it's truly haunting, bro.
And the vibe of this, D, is that you have people making us feel bad for protesting.
Yeah,
All right, like let's be clear about this. It's only been 8 days. It feels like it's been so much longer. It's only been 8 days since that video came out, and you watched a man who, over a alleged $20 counterfeit check, you threw him to the ground. You lied what happened in broad daylight with witnesses recording you, and then the perpetuation of this is, we're now in a space that when people are speaking up, what happens? Now you're coming after us,
true.
right? Now you're attacking us. And in that vein, today we had a big protest and press conference rather in the Bronx, which we rap about. And one of the questions people were asking us was about the National Guard. I was like, I don't want the National Guard here. I don't want tanks on my streets,
No,
right? Like no, but like that's not what this is supposed to be. And I think what is happening is that we are becoming distracted. We're allowing the noise of the brutality that continues and the tanks to distract us from what's happening. Why are we mad? Because you keep killing black men and there's no accountability.
none,
That's why we're mad.
none
Like,
whatsoever.
let's make it real simple, right? Like, if you stopped killing us and you stopped getting off and you stopped making excuses, I mean, even over the weekend, they were actually trying to say that there was an autopsy, that he didn't die from being strangled. Like, stop, right? So we got to stay focused, right? And we can't allow media to confuse us about why are we out there.
True.
We are out here because we're just saying we want to live. We want to live just like you living, right? And then whether it be LA or the Bronx, South Side, down Louisiana, wherever you at, we just want to live.
You with all of like, I mean, obviously you're experiencing it firsthand with like all seeing all of the looting, that's occurring in the Bronx and all of the fires. Like, what do you say to people about why or why not to protest?
So I don't know if you saw that video, that powerful intergenerational clip. It was only like 3 minutes, but you had the one brother who was like 46, one that was 31 years old, one that was 16.
Yes, powerful,
And powerful,
powerful.
right? And for very different reasons, they were angry. And they weren't angry but saying like, we just going about here, let's just go, light some fire, let's go. No, they were angry because it's like, yo, nothing's changing. Nothing's changing.
Generational. No change.
Purely generational. And the piece that caught me the most was that it was the one in between that was the bridge.
Yes.
Right? The one that in between of saying to the 46, yo, brother, I know you angry. I'm angry. But that 16-year-old was staring so intently.
Yes.
Like on some, yo, I'm listening. I'm listening. Talk to me, King. Give me guidance. I know I'm upset, but give me guidance right now. And I want people to go out and protest. I want you to go out there and be out in the streets. I want you to speak up. I want you to say that this is wrong.
Yes.
And I want for the officers I want y'all to hear me real quick, right? I'm the youngest of 4 boys. My oldest brother was a weapons specialist in the Army. I have 2 that were incarcerated, turned their lives around, done remarkable things. So don't talk to me about not having respect for law enforcement and public service. I served the President of the United States. I'm clear on that.
Yes.
Right? We should not be made to feel bad for speaking up. I should not be wondering that you're going to pull out a baton or pull down my mask and pepper spray me.
Yes.
Because I'm literally saying I want to live. Right? Like, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy, D, that people are like, well, don't go outside. And then when I listen to the noise of don't go vote, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? It don't make any sense to me. So don't go vote. So fine. So keep the same prosecutors that have kept things in place, or have like us in the Bronx, Darcel Park, where you got a black woman creating justice. Keep the same state legislators who ain't changing anything, or do what we're doing here and actually have raised the age in open discovery. Keep the same cats that are playing these games, or have a mayor like Keisha Lance Bottoms who will tell you go home. Right? Like, it matters who you elect, and you gotta be out there to protest, because people will continue to say to us, well, it's not happening. But then you saw those 2 cop cars drive into the crowd. You saw the people get pepper sprayed. You saw what's happening out here.
Unbelievable, man.
Unreal.
Man.
It's unreal.
I mean, even the thing that with Trump, you know, having them. Did you read it today where they intentionally went out and, like, you know, attacked all the protesters for his photo op?
Well, let's call it what it is. That's the epitome of white male privilege. We got to be honest. Sometimes we got to be uncomfortable about this, right? Like, I will tease people. The only scandal we ever had with Obama was a tan suit. Could you imagine if Barack Obama would have told the leadership to use tear gas on American citizens so you could walk across the street and then hold up a Bible? And where you didn't even tell the leadership of that church that you were showing up? Could you imagine?
Unreal.
What the Republican Party would be doing, right? Could you imagine? And so, yes, I want you to protest. However, don't tear up these Black and Latino businesses and these Asian businesses and Native American businesses in our communities where they saved up everything to start that business. We can't be out here talking about black wealth, but then you shut down the business.
Sure.
Right? Like, why do we rock out on Club Quarantine? Because we got a brother that's out here spinning, doing his thing. And it makes us feel proud that we can say one of our own is doing his thing and utilizing his platform for good. So we can't be saying, man, we celebrate BrandNice and we out here and doing these things, but then we burn up our businesses. Because you're giving the enemy ammunition. And that's the last thing we need to do. Our goal has to be to win. Win at the ballot box, win with the policy changes, win with getting wealth in our communities, and win by having the people not just be fired, but be charged and convicted the way anyone else would. True. That's why you put.
Absolutely, man. I woke up this morning, you know, and, you know, of course, I do respect what people are doing with the whole Blackout Tuesday. But when I woke up, I was like, man, I can't sit around all day and not because I wasn't clear on what it was, you know, and not tell people to vote. Like this is a major time, man. Like we need to get out and vote. You know, so all day that's all I've been doing, man. I've been DMing people, like remind people to vote, you know, get out and vote. I post about it. I was so happy when I, you know, reached out to you and you were able to just jump on it to just say some good words to the people and to remind them. I mean, look, we this is a major day. This Tuesday is a Super Tuesday. We have curfews. It's insane. So
Exactly.
it's almost like it's attempting to have people not get out and vote or discourage people from voting, man. So I needed to remind people to get out and vote. All right, I do have another question, man. Like, what specific criminal justice policies and groups can we support?
No question. And I think I'm going to answer that, and I appreciate someone just putting in the chat, Latinos are black. Absolutely. This is for all of us in that struggle, right? Omar Jimenez, who was that CNN reporter that got taken down, he's a Northwestern alum, right? So let's be clear on that. But I also think, D, and on the criminal justice piece, today was another reminder of how people look at local elections versus presidential elections. Because would we have said the same thing about not voting if it was a presidential election? I don't think so, right? And so we're going to be clear in terms of the general election. So we got to be clear about that. Look, on criminal justice, again, why are we mad? Why are we pissed off, frustrated, angry? Because over and over again, we're seeing lives being taken and nothing changing.
Yes.
So, you know, in New York, you know, I put a thread on Twitter this morning of very specific things, for example, we got to do. And you got to find what's happening in your city. Appeal 58. People ask me about 58. There's a law in the books where it shields officers from their personnel records being released in terms of discipline. I want to know what you did before, because that officer that killed George Floyd had a record of doing things before that. You know, so find out the transparency laws in your state. You know, we want to end solitary confinement here in New York. We want to be clear about the Stat Act, because I want to know the stats. I want to know who you're pulling over, if they're African American, Latino, Asian, Native American. You know, and we need to restore back the bail rollbacks that happened here. You know, Governor Cuomo pushed to roll back bail. It was unacceptable. It's unconscionable. You know, we need to restore what's happening. But at the same time, you got Mayor de Blasio, who has been cutting proposed money for summer youth employment program, but keeping money for the Department of Corrections. That don't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
So I think for everybody, this is that moment where you have to find out what's the local laws in your cities and states around criminal justice and be disciplined on that. Here in New York, you know, on Thursday, we're going to have another press conference. And next week, we're going to be voting. Many of us are going to be doing it over Zoom, because enough is enough. But the piece of this is intertwined, because, yes, I can change the policy. And we've been doing that. We raised the age in New York so that 16 and 17-year-olds are not tried as adults. You know, we did it for open discovery, so you know what the defense has on the prosecution has on the defense. But across the country, there should be a database of bad cops.
Sure.
There should be a database on if you have records. There should be a database on if you had misconduct. Absolutely, we should know those kinds of things. And that should be transferred from employer to employer, not just in law enforcement. There should be the understanding of the stats of what you have had and what training has actually occurred. And those are the kinds of things we can do on the federal level. And so when we think about the protests, why are people protesting also, and why is it tied to criminal justice? Because you're locking our people up, but you're not investing in our community. It shouldn't be easier to be arrested for a dime bag than have a book in your book bag.
Wow. Yes.
Right? And so when we think about this right now, it's that approach of invest in our communities rather than locking me up. Build schools, don't build jails. You know, and so we have to be very disciplined on educating people about this, but educating people about all the elections that are coming up. Because if you care about these things, if you care about the policies, you want these things to change, overwhelmingly, family, it's the people that are elected to office. You care about bail reform, you care about open discovery, you care about transparency with the cops, you care about cops being held to the same standards. The people you elect matter. That's what you got to do. And it can't just be in DC. It's got to be city council to Congress. It's got to be state house to White House. All these pieces are intertwined. So when we talk about criminal justice, I want y'all to rock with us. I want y'all to see that there are things happening around the country. Lastly, there's a growing energy of supporting these district attorneys and prosecutors around the country that are doing the right thing. You know, we got Darcel Clark here in the Bronx.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you to name some that you really support
in Massachusetts. We got a lot of people doing their thing, and it's that responsibility that if you care about criminal justice, it's from start to finish. It can't just be at the protest. It's got to be at the ballot box.
Absolutely. You know, we're both, you know, I'm from Woody Crest. Wait, you're from Woody Crest, the area too, right? Mike, can you hear me? Mike.
Look, I
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
No, I was gonna say we're both from the Bronx. Like, how do you feel about what's been going on? Like what happened last night and what happened over the weekend in the Bronx?
It's there was a little bit of a delay right there. The and I think you can still hear me, D. Hopefully.
I can.
Okay. Look, I think a lot of times I think when we think about what's happening in our communities right now, we talk about the Bronx and we talk about it as the home of hip hop, which we know we are, right? Cedric Avenue, we can talk about that all day. You know, we talk about hip hop and salsa and doo-wop, all these intertwined. We talk about how it's connected to our reggae roots. We talk about our African roots. We talk about these things all intertwined, right? But there was a pandemic of poverty, a pandemic of institutionalized racism, a pandemic of health disparities long before coronavirus hit. And many of us came together to start the Bronx Community Relief Effort, which y'all can find at thebronx.org. And I'll put that in the chat so folks can find out about that. Food. You know, we passed 1 million meals we've been able to give out now in the Bronx. It's March 17th.
Congrats.
You know, small businesses. We've helped about 500 small businesses out here in the South Bronx. You know, Chromebooks, so 600 Chromebooks that we're able to support through DreamYard. You know, nonprofits, equity and justice. Clearly, equity and justice is so relevant right now. Housing, because people out here talking about, well, wait a minute, if I can't pay my bills, I can't keep my home, then what am I supposed to do right now? You know, the efforts around microgrant, all these pieces are intertwined, right? And so what Derek Lewis has done through the Bronx Community Relief Effort, which is no different than what we're seeing in Detroit, where they're doing phenomenal work in Detroit. We've seen some of this work in LA. We've seen this in Chicago. You know, the equity justice work that Mayor Lightfoot's been crushing it on. But this is how we're helping our healthcare heroes. Why is it easier for the people that are blocking us on the streets to have PPE than our nurses? Right. And so for me, you know, this is home. And when the cameras are gone and the pandemic is gone and we have stopped marching in the streets, there's still going to be that kid that's going to be behind because they weren't in the school for months. Right? It shouldn't be easy to have unleaded gas and lead-free paint in your home. Right? And so this is about helping our home. So for me, you know, and just so you can see, we got it. If it wasn't for the Bronx, I had
You're fully repping.
Okay. Thebronx.org, you know, and I want people to really understand, and you know, I just want y'all to see, this is our home.
Tell the people where you are right now in the Bronx. Everyone's like, what restaurant is he at?
I always love the smile when we're talking about the Bronx. I'm trying to get Derek to come back and spend one time in the Bronx. That's the ultimate goal right now.
Man, that is my goal, bro. You know, I told you. Wait, you can hear me, right? Can you hear me?
I can hear bits and pieces.
Man, you know what? You want to start it over again, or are you good?
Oh, yeah, Bistro. Some of y'all actually realize that, yes, this is happening at Bistro in real time. Thank
Yes,
y'all right there.
yes. You I do have a couple of questions. So, I started club quarantine. I started homeschool at club quarantine, where it was really to just kind of play music. It had nothing to do with what's going on. With the with people out here protesting. It was really about inspiring people while they're home during this quarantine. And now I figured that this music is still like inspiring even more people. What are you doing on the ground to inspire people?
Well, first, I'm loving the love that you're getting in the chat. First of all, D, about people talking about come back home right now, come back home. Um, I will answer the question. I'm gonna come back on this, but if I can, this will be the journalist in me. Uh, I think it'll be good before doing that for people to hear from you about, what you did with DJs for Obama, because and this is why I think it's important before we dive into this, because you utilize your platform for good,
Yes.
right? So I could talk about what I was going to do right there, but I think it's important for you to wrap first on what that meant and why this was so important.
Well, the thing with being a DJ for Obama, it was always about utilizing the platform that I had, and that I have. Um, DJs and artists in particular, like, we have this amazing platform and the ability to communicate with people effectively through music, through personal appearances, through IG, through Facebook. People come to us for, it could be for entertainment, but you can kind of give both, like I've always wanted to, and I've always in my career always felt like it was important to do both. So early on, in the early days, it was self-destruction. It was that effort to produce music and, stop the violence movement. And through DJing, it was DJs for Obama. You created DJs for Obama. And it was important. I remember meeting you and like, wow, this is the guy. I was just excited to be part of it, to utilize my platform and to use my talents to do something effectively that would inspire people to support one of the most amazing men that I've ever met, and I'm very clear about that. I've met a lot of people, but I've never met anyone quite like Barack Obama.
Yep.
And to contribute during the second election, was just important. It was important, and it was very inspiring for me. And because of that, I've always wanted to do even more. So it didn't sit right in my spirit, man. When I woke up this morning, I was like, I'm not doing enough. Playing the music is great and inspiring people is great, but it's the conversation that needed to be had. People needed to hear my voice on this, and they needed to know why I wanted to get involved. I see, what's going on with all of us, man. Like, it's a strange time, brother. It's a
Yeah.
strange time, and it's just important for me to allow my voice to be heard. So this isn't
Yeah.
the first or the last of these types of conversations that I'm going to have with you, and I want to have them with other people, and I want to continue to converse about what's going on in the world.
Well, I and many of us are always grateful for you, D. You give us life each night in a way that we need that. And our president, he tweeted out yesterday that if people are looking for a way to utilize that energy in the same way Killer Mike said at the microphone this weekend,
Yes.
vote,
Vote, man.
and be counted at the census. I'm 3 weeks from tonight, I'm hoping to make history, becoming the first black person elected to Congress here in the Bronx, right? And in that same way, we are watching what's going on, and we've all been able to travel the world. It's been a blessing. And I said to people 3.5 months ago, did you know where Wuhan, China was? I didn't know. I know Wuhan, China, but everybody around the world now knows Wuhan, China now.
Sure.
And it reminds you very quickly that we are global, right? And we are interconnected, and that we need to have the right people in these spots. And for everybody, we can't just keep saying to black folk, And by black, I mean African American, I mean Latino, I mean Garifuna, I mean all of us.
Yes.
That the only time we're going to be involved is for a November presidential election. That's not enough.
No, it's not enough, man.
It's not enough. Not
Yeah,
enough. So if you believe in something more, that's our whole vision. Believe in the Bronx. I've been telling folks often, your block won't block your blessing. Your zip code won't deny your destiny.
absolutely. I love talking to you, brother. How's the campaign going?
I think we're going to win this thing. It's a grind. It's running for office is expensive. And people often say like, well, why? Well, it's like any entrepreneurial opportunity, right? Like you got to raise money to get your name out. You got to raise money so that people can see you and learn about what's happening. And I decided not to run for re-election, and I am supporting a great sister, Chantel Jackson, to succeed me because, we can, men, you can be a man and a feminist at the same time, right? And a lot of this now is educating people about what's at stake. I always tell folks, can you tell me one thing in your life that's not impacted by policy? And since you can't, why would you not get involved in an election?
Why not?
Right?
Exactly.
And so for us, we have 16 unions who have now endorsed us, which has been a blessing. We have 37 elected officials who have endorsed us, which is a blessing. Even in this race where, again, trying to be the first African American from the Bronx to be elected, I have four, including today, Gustavo Rivera, 4 Latino electeds who have publicly endorsed us, which is a blessing, right? And I just think that a week ago, let's just say 8 days ago, we watched George Floyd's video. Next Monday, we're going to start reopening New York City under a pause. People are voting absentee. People are trying to figure out what to do. People are trying to figure out where they go. And all the energy, separate from when you rocking out with D during club quarantine, all right? I want to be clear about that. I don't want y'all being distracted, even though I'm still waiting for D to play Soho hot music a little bit more. I'm just saying, I just need that a little bit more in my life. Need that a little more in my life, right?
I'll play it in the next set, man.
Okay. We need you, right? And if you believe in what we're talking about, I need you to help make phone calls. You can make phone calls from anywhere around the world for us. Blake for Congress at NYC. I need you to help us. If you're willing to go online, $10, $50, $100, whatever you have, we need the right people in office because we're seeing what's going on in Washington. We got a clown in D.C. And this is my last thing on this here, right? There's a lot of big things I want to do. We talk about housing. I do believe there should be neighborhood basic income.
Yes.
Right? I'm ready to do the wobble. Aaron out here trying to clown. I'm always ready to do the wobble, right? We got to do neighborhood basic income. We got to have bail reform across the country. We shouldn't have bail, period. I want to have a minority bill of rights for our businesses so we actually help our businesses in a very real way. But let me tell you about the people I'm running against. One of the persons I'm running against who purely is trying to confuse people because of his name, D, right? Ruben Diaz Sr., but he's on the ballot as Ruben Diaz. He is anti-choice, anti-gay marriage, anti-black, said last year that sexual harassment is a compliment. This week said he didn't know he would vote for between Trump and Biden. This week, okay? Wow. But it's trying to confuse people just to hope that they will show up and run as a Democrat and vote for him. And so what I'm telling people anywhere around the country, around the world, if you want to help us, donate to us, please. Also, donate to the Bronx Community Relief Effort because we need to help our people at the same time. If you've been watching the videos across the country, we need our help. And volunteer with us. We need to volunteer. Yes, I'm not kidding. I'm being real about that. And platforms like this, because there's a lot of people that may have never even thought about an election. They may never even listen to what's going on. But they come on an IG Live and all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, I see what's happening. I see what's going on. I see that there's a reason to be involved. Where would we be if we didn't have Ayanna Pressley speaking truth? right? Where would we be if we didn't have the power of what we saw of Hakeem Jeffries dropping knowledge on the floor, right? And so if you care about us, and you saw last night, again, this is our home. You know, D, you know, we this is home for us. We grew up here.
Yes.
The Bronx was burning last night.
Wow.
Literally burning. And if you want to see something different, you got to elect the right people.
Powerful, man. You know I love the Bronx. I sat with you in that very restaurant and told you what my goal, and this is before all of these amazing things happened recently, where I wanted to open that business up in the Bronx, and that's still my desire, and I'm getting closer to doing just that, man. You know I love the Bronx, so I'm so happy that you were able to join me here today to raise awareness to your wonderful campaign, to talk about the Bronx and the importance of voting. You know, I know, this is everyone's doing the blackout Tuesday, but this is we have to get out and vote, man.
We
Like,
have to.
I can't stress that enough. We have to get out and vote today. You know, if there's an election going on in your state, please get out and vote, and remind your friends to get out and vote. I'm glad you were able to join me, Mike, and we should do this conversation like once a week, bro.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
We should actually do this once a week and bring on some other people. Let's see it. Let's see. We have some questions over here. Let's see what's happening. Oh, someone asked, can they donate to your campaign? You already talked about that. What's your website again, brother?
Blake4congress.nyc, and it's in the pinned post right there. Anything y'all can do. You know, the most you can do is 2,800 for the primary. Everything matters. We got to raise about another 1 to 150 at least to bring this home, to get the word out and really, get this win.
So Katie, she asked, what can we do about the NYPD, and who should we vote for there?
Oh man, now we rock it. Look, I think next year's mayoral election matters because that person will determine who's the next commissioner of NYPD. I also think there's a very important conversation that has to happen around immediate changes within the NYPD. And for those that weren't on earlier, when we were talking about policy changes, if you're here in New York, we want you to understand 50A. It is the law that's on the books right now that we are planning on voting on next week, that we demand it has to be repealed, that is shielding personnel records of disciplined behavior of police misconduct.
Yes.
And so before we can talk about the leadership of NYPD, of course, it comes down to the current leadership that has to happen within local office out in Queens. 3 weeks from today is also the Queens Borough President race. My dear brother, Donovan Richards, is running for Borough President. He's the current chair and what's happening around criminal justice and those major issues. He's trying to do the right thing. And so it matters. It matters up and down the ballot who we have in these spots, right? And so if you care about criminal justice, you need to focus on your DAs, your prosecutors, your mayors, but also your legislators. Because I'm on the correction committee, and there's a lot of things that we can do in the state right now that can change the game. And we've been very clear that we have an expectation by next week that we're going to have some major changes. And be on the lookout for us on Thursday. We're going to have a big press conference to focus on some of the changes we want to make happen here.
So with everything that's happening, of course, people are throwing around the idea of potential martial law. We see the tanks in all of these cities. I'm seeing them here. And, Humvees, and, how would that affect voting?
It scares people. And that's why we got to educate people about the different ways you can vote. So here in New York, and this is the case across the country, now, like in California, you're going to have vote by mail, which the Republicans are now trying to push back on, because why? They know that if more people vote by mail, more Democrats are likely going to show up and more people are going to believe in them. And so you can vote absentee here in New York, for example, as long as you submit and say temporary illness. You can do early voting from June 13th to June 21st, or you can vote in person. So the conversation about martial law and the trucks and the tanks and Trump, which, let's be clear, Trump is all about fear. He's a white supremacist. He's racist. He's xenophobic. He's all those things. He's purely trying to scare people to not vote, because they know that if more people vote, we win. And so across the country, I need you to stand up. And in the same way, somebody's grandmama had to walk some miles so you could drive a few minutes.
True.
Somebody's granddaddy had to pick some cotton, so all you can do is pick up a remote control. So you talk to me about fear. Across the Edmund Pettus Bridge and those that came before, they lost lives for us to vote. So find your reason to speak up and vote now.
When does in New York, when does early voting happen? When does that start?
June 13th to June 21st for early voting, or you can vote in person on June 23rd. But again, you can vote absentee. If you want to vote absentee, you have until June 16th to request that ballot, and it has to be received by the 22nd. But you know, if you go to vote.nyc or you go to our website, you can see the information about how we can help. And then equally, you know, I'm vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. So if you go to democrats.org, we can get you that information about how you can vote in your respective states. Everybody has to vote. Everybody got to get in the game.
All right, let me just take two more questions. Man, okay, so someone said they wanted you to speak to black women and the mother of the black men that have been, you know, murdered. You know, like, what would you say to them?
You all have been the queens that have protected us for centuries. If you don't have Dr. Dorothy Irene Height saying make sure he gives the full speech, Dr. King doesn't give the full speech that day because there were the men that were trying to cut him off. If you don't have Coretta Scott King, who was a shero in her own right down in Marion, Alabama, if you don't have Mahalia Jackson saying tell him about the dream, we're not here in this moment. If you don't have Michelle Obama being the queen that she is, we don't have these moments. So to our black women, whether if you're a mother or a godmother, a grandmother, an auntie, whatever it may be, I know you're afraid about us seeing go outside, but rock your crowns, my queens.
I have one more question from you.
We believe in you.
It's from a brother named Tuffy. He said, how do we know that those counting the ballots are not part of the problem?
We got to make sure that we have lawyers and volunteers prepared for voter suppression tactics that occur, so we can watch and be present and be ready. And the more people that volunteer that get us out there. You know, we're fortunate, again, we got a phenomenal Attorney General, Tish James, who's always doing her thing. We'll be ready. We have the people in place, and that's why we got to make sure the people are out there across the country for those efforts. You know, if you want to volunteer, you want to mobilize, not just with me, but everybody. The next 3 weeks are game changing. And for Congress, for state Senate, for state assembly, for these local races. But if you want your people to win, you need to donate to them, you need to volunteer for them, and you need to get the word out so that we can be ready.
Nice. I appreciate you, man. Any last things that you want to say?
Love you always, D. You make me proud all day, every day. Let's do it. Let's do this once a week, man. Let's get other people in to talk about what's going on in the country. You know, this is our generational moment.
Absolutely, man. I will see you next week.
Let's do it.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone that was here. Thank you for all of the questions. And look, we'll do this again next week, and I'll see you guys later on. All right? Thanks, Mike. Thanks for joining me, bro.
God bless, D.
Right,
Thank you. Peace.